I'm going to do a little trail clearing today. This is the bottom of Mesa Bute. Apparently, this is the access road to the second gas plant. I can't remember the trail number here. Yeah, consult my handy dandy little map they sent me. Let's see what it says. It says, where are we? 65A apparently this is, and up there roughly where the sun is at the moment is where I'm heading. Apparently there's a lot of deadfall on this trail, and then back on the side door or something it's called. Yeah, shame they got their gate at the bottom. They would have taken off a little bit of the walk up here, but since it's a glorious day, I'm not going to worry too much about that. And apparently up on top of this hill, probably that hill over there, there's a whole bunch of deadfall. So let me go see what I can find. Well, this looks like the beginning of my trail. Yeah, Mesa grind. But from what I can make out, yeah, it's a steep hill, but it's not too bad. I'll tell you what, lovely day for it. I didn't keep tripping over tree roots. Yeah, we had a fox or something through here. It definitely smells like fox. Apparently this is a slow and steady climb until you get to the last bit. So we shall see. There's many tracks up through this way. I suspect people probably come in from the other end because there is a campground down there. So my suspicion would be that would be the most popular route up here. But this one certainly looks nice. I've only seen two sets of footprints so far, and both of those were heading downhill. So. Right, let's put this away a little bit because we get into the thick of the trees, and I'll do some more in a minute. Well, I'm guessing this is my turn off left. Using my advanced navigational skills and the rather nicely made sign somebody's made there. What does this one say? Mesa grind, curly connector, Mesa grind, east-west trailhead. Oh, that works. Nice, yeah. It's one thing a lot of trails are missing, these signs. What does this one say? Oh, this one says Mesa grind as well. Yeah, I've seen several of those on that trail I just come up. I parked down by the gas plant. I have to say this is a very nice forest. I'm warming up already. I still have several layers on because I figured it was going to be a cool start to the morning, but I think I might be shedding a layer or two here very shortly. Yeah, right. Let's head up this way and see what I can find. Very nice aspen forest, I must admit. This time of the year they're lovely. Look at that. Lush green. Can't odds that. Well, I've stopped for a rest. That up is a little steeper there. It's one steep section. So stopped to have a drink of water. Just wander on a bit further. Tell you what, I keep getting some glimpses of amazing views. I have a funny feeling looking at these trails. To the top of that hill in front of me is where I'm heading. I'm just guessing. Yeah. So it looks like we have one little uphill and then a much bigger uphill. Oh well. In order to get the views, you've got to go up. Oh, there. Oh, I love that sound. It's a good thing about the aspens and what have you. The slightest breeze and they all start moving. Dappled sun in the morning. Just have a little shade break because Looks like once I head out of these trees, it's pretty much all sunshine to the top of the hill. Another reason why I've come very early o'clock. Right, on I go. Wow. Yeah, Tony was right. They have done a lot of clearing out of trees over that way. Holy smokes, haven't they just? Yeah. Mind you, with the price of timber at the moment, I think the enthusiasm for logging might drop off for a bit. Prices have dropped considerably. Yeah. A lot of the snowpacks melted off the mountains over there, look. There's always pockets. That's what feeds the creeks and that all summer. So it's always good to see. Right. What isn't good to see is that. Because I've got to go up it. Oh well. Onwards and upwards, I guess. Trouble is, I keep looking over my shoulder and getting another amazing view. And amazing views, not just an excuse to have a rest. All the flowers are coming up in here, look. Very nice. Certainly picked a good day for it. Right. Nearly at the top of this little one. Then we just got the big one to do. Apparently there is a picnic bench at the top where I will be stopping for much needed rest. Oh yeah. Now let's get my bearings here. Okay. Yep. Oh, okay. So that's banded from the other side. Okay. I think that's banded. Yeah, it must be. Because Gibraltar and that's down through there. Shingalashi over that way. That must be Blue Rock. Okay, yeah. That must be Blue Rock out that way. Banded's off over there then. What's that? Romulus? What's that other one? Romulus and Remus or something, isn't it? Yeah. So straight down through that way. That must be Shingalashi, right in front of me. Looks like it. The mountain looks about the right shape. So Hoffman must be one of those two hills I can see over there, because Hoffman pretty much faces that way. So that gap straight over the top of those trees in the middle there must be the land up through there through Burns Land. Yeah, and out through to Elbow Lake. Okay, now I've got my bearings, that's good. On I go. Right, that's the top of the first little thing, and it gives you this, oh goody, we got a little bit of downhill. Yippee! Only problem is, looking through the trees, I think this downhill is going to be very short-lived. Glad somebody cut that one. I wouldn't be cutting that today. Right. Now I guess they head up there. Very hard trail to follow. Just these 4,000 footprints a day that come up this way by the look of it. It's pretty steep though. Steeper than it looks, must admit. So it's a good idea. Glad I came early, because in the heat of the midday sun that might be a bit brutal. Yeah. I can see where the other routes would come up through now. Yeah, because the campground is down over that way. So Curly Sand and all that is all down through there. Yeah, campground's down over that way. I've just spotted something down that valley over there that I want to go and explore. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yes. That looks quite nice. I wonder what that is. That looks like somewhere for Dave to explore. Because that's the Sheep Valley down over there. The road goes down through that lot. So Green Mountain and all that lot. Yes. I just spotted something. I shall add that to my to-do list on the thing. Meanwhile, I will get back to looking at that and say, okay, camera away for a bit until I get to the top. Got to the top of the hill. There's a tree that's come over, and then there's this. Not sure what this is for. I see a little gnome down there. Not going to disturb it. I have no idea what it's there for. There's a little container in here. Let me just see what this is. Well, I'm not really sure why it's there. There's a little container in there full of like little toys, like kids' toys and stuff. So I'm not really sure why that's there, but I won't disturb it because somebody's gone to a great deal of trouble to I can't see what it says. I'll zoom in on that and see if I can bloat it up. Alice something, I think. Let's see. I'm not sure. I will look that up. I haven't got my glasses on, so that really makes it. We have a little gnome and a light and some kids' toys. So yes, I will pay my respects and move on. Leave that alone. This tree has come over. Right. So I was right earlier. That over there in the distance, right in the middle of the shot, that's Banded Outlaw, Cornwall and Glasgow, which means that ridge along there, that's one of those ridges is Iperi Ipan, and the other one, by the look of it, is Forget Me Not. That's a very interesting walk along the top of there if you ever want to have a really nice walk. It goes for miles. You can actually go pretty much from Sheep all the way up to the elbow area. So make sure you have 2 cars if you're going to do that one, or walk back. Romulus and that I can see in the background. That over there then must be Nahahi Ridge. I caught a glimpse of moose just now. Unforgettable. Yeah, that's one of my main navigational mountains around this area. North or south, I could have my eyes closed and know where that mountain is. Yeah. But I have to admit, Tony sent me the map and he said even if there's no trails to clear, come and have a look because it's really quite something. And he was absolutely right. This is an amazing little hike. That uphill was a bit steep. This is just about at the top now. Yes, I'm not sure what that little memorial there, I guess. Yeah. We'll see if I can find out. Right, well, this is almost at the top. This is way easier going. This is almost flat now compared to the bit I just come up. It's almost flat. Yeah. Now Tony says the trail I'm looking for goes off to the left here somewhere. Down that way, I guess. Yeah, yeah, down through there somewhere, I think. My next trail. It's that way. I will consult my handy dandy map once I get up in here. Oh, picnic table. Yay! Look at that, nobody up here either. I expected to find some people up here camping maybe, or whatever. Yeah. Good campfire site there. Yeah. Good campfire. Oh, somebody left a shovel. Well done. Wish everybody would do stuff like that because it just makes it so much easier. Yeah. And we had, oh, what do we got here? Oh, this is well thought out. We have a saw, a toasting rack. Yeah. Holy shit. Not sure you'd want to try and cut anything with that saw. Anything you're likely to cut with that saw is your fingers. Some plastic barbecuing stuff. Look at this. Barbecue forks left here. Some pots and pans. Oh yeah. Somebody was thinking. So, yes. This looks like a very good spot to get all the kit off. Have a sit down for a while and just enjoy that view. Isn't that something? Well, let me tell you, That is the best place picnic bench I've ever seen. I brought another grapefruit with me as well. I love these things. Yeah. See, there's some more structure down in there. I'm sure let's go and have a look at that. That is something else. So, check my handy dandy little map here. I am on top of the hill. So, according to my map, not sure if you can see that very well on the camera there. I started here. I parked here, so what I did is I come up this way. I'm on top of the hill now, which is here, so I'm going to go down the back route, which is down through that way by the look of it. Turn left and then come down there. What does that say? Mesa side door or something that says. And come down that way, and then I've got a short walk back down the road back to where I started. I have to say, there's some nice trails in that around here. I can see why it was recommended. Yes, we will certainly do what I can with that one. And in the meantime, I'm going to sit and enjoy this. And as always, whatever stuff you bring with you, make sure you take it home. I know this is organic and technically it'll erode away and decompose in it, but it doesn't belong up here. So if every single person left all their orange peels and stuff up here, this place would be literally overrun with stuff in 5 minutes. So whatever you bring with you, make sure you take it back. So I will peel this. If I can get that out of there. I can tell you now, if you put these things in the fridge, oh, they are so good cold. They're also easy to peel if they've been in the fridge. Come on, you can do it. There we go. Oh, look at that. If that is not just ooey gooey goodness grapefruit, I don't know what is. That is one tidy pile of ash too. Yeah. Yes, I suspect there's been 1 or 2 campfires there over the years. That is good. Yes, I don't think people really need to carve little things into trees. I don't like to see that. It wounds the tree. The tree has the energy into healing that. But I don't care what anybody says. That sure is one hell of a nice view. I wonder if we can get down through that way. Somebody put a windsock on top of the hill. Maybe they hang glide from here, I don't know. Be a good launch spot. If you had a day with lots of thermals, it'd be good. If not, you can be landing in the forest down there somewhere. That's never a good thing. I can smell smoke. Very, very light smoke. It's not heavy forest fire smoke, so that's good. It's more like campfire smoke. So. But I can definitely smell it. It's on the breeze. Yep. Right. Yeah, so for anybody who's never been here, come here and have a look, because it is good. Place yourself coming up that hill. I do what I call a 25 stop. Very steep hill. If you keep going, you just wear yourself out. So a very simple trick that you can do. It always looks daft, but you take 25 paces and then stop just for about 10 seconds. You take another 25 paces, stop, another 10 seconds, and so on. And eventually you end up at the top of the hill. But it just gives your muscles just that little time to have a bit of a rest, a bit of a slow down. Now, I have my little pack with me today. I've got my light pack, so that's good. Kit belt always weighs a lot because I have a lot of saws, and so I brought my big saw with me today just in case. I have to say that is well worth every step of getting up here. Yeah, I can see why people come here now. That is quite something. Yeah. Right, I shall have a drink of water, consult the trusty map, and be on my way. Yes, I almost forgot. I've got a sausage roll in my bag. I should probably eat that before the heat of the sun gets onto my pack too much and it becomes not very nice. So, always take your garbage home with you, like I say. I always bring little Ziploc bags and carry bags. In my big pack I actually have a garbage bag in there as well, just in case I find garbage on the route. I'll just pick it all up and take it home with me, you know. I'd rather people take their own garbage home, but many times I've had to carry it out. Yes. If that is not an amazing view, I don't know what is really. By the look of it, people use that as a campsite. These old trees, lovely these things, great, aren't they? If I had my other camera, I could turn that into a really nice picture. This GoPro thing does take pretty good pictures, I'll give it that. But no replacement for glass, I can tell you. You want good light, you need big glass. Simple as that. There's one mighty fine sausage roll. It's good that somebody's got a shovel up here, because it's absolutely essential. Can't see much sign of anybody being up here yesterday. You'd think there would be. Today's Monday, although that's a very fresh cut piece of wood. It hasn't been cut long. Still fresh sawdust on the ground. Right, I will finish this up and finally get out of here. I must admit, it's very easy just to sit here and enjoy this view. Well, that was a very nice lunch break. I'm not quite sure how they got the picnic table up here, but whoever bought that picnic table up here, thank you very much. So I have to say, this would make a great site. I can see exactly. I like the little space. That is a very good idea. Yeah. Yes, very nice indeed. No garbage. I'm actually impressed with how little to no garbage there is here. Nothing. There's one tiny little piece of paper there. There is no garbage. That is a good thing to see. Right, I better grab my camera, just clip that on. I always have this little carabiner thing, I always clip this to myself, and that has saved this camera from a couple of falls. They are supposed to be shockproof, however I don't really want to test that theory. Now, I'm not sure where the trail heads out. This looks very well trodden, so even if it goes nowhere, I'm going to have a look. I think I need to go off to the left there, but let me just go and have a look through these trees. Oh, this is some very nice forest. Very nice. I can certainly see where everybody's collecting their firewood from. There's cut ends everywhere. Yeah. Yes, this looks like a very well-worn trail, and according to my map, somebody built a shelter. So let's give them marks out of 10, shall we? What did they build here? Let's have a look. First thing they did was build a campfire on the middle of tree roots and what have you. Never a good idea. They are surrounded by widowmakers. 1, 2, 3, 4. I can see 4 trees that I would camp nowhere near. I certainly would never light a campfire right there. Yeah. Not sure why you'd build that there, but people do, I guess. They've built a shelter out of some branches there, which is supported on the dead tree on both ends. So, yes. 10 out of 10 for enthusiasm. Nothing out of 10 for common sense, I'm afraid. That is not somewhere, even in an emergency, that's not somewhere that I would camp. Wind gets up right on top of a very steep hill. These trees have a habit of snapping off 20-30 feet up in the air. See that dead one right in the middle there? Look at that, snapped off right at the top. The piece of wood that fell off that tree would kill you in an instant. Yeah, never a good idea. People always think it's good, but with that amount of wind and stuff, never a good idea. Right, I'm going to head down through this way and see what I can find. This does look like a trail. Not sure if it is the trail, but let me have a look. Now, the reports were there was a lot of blowdown through here, so let me go and have a look, see what is manageable and what isn't. I'm not convinced that this is the trail because there is nothing that I can see here that actually resembles a trail anymore. We just have a big mess of blowdown. Right, I'm going to scout around and see if I can actually find a trail. Well, the reports that I got at the top of this hill was pretty much a mess. There's the ramshackle camp and the picnic table is just behind it. So I found the old trail. I had to traipse through this lot quite a bit. Huge amount of blowdown in here. A lot of this is way too big for me to do anything with. So I started marking a trail. Nice big log here, and it looks like the trail goes that way. But that soon actually peters out. I'm assuming it used to go around to the left. But there's probably about 20 or 30 really big trees down in there. However, if you go over this one, and then just after going over this one, head off to the left, because this is where I found the rest of the trail, down through here. Now I have marked it with some tape on the trees, and I'm sure the Leave No Trace people are going to have a lot to say about that. However, if they want to come up here with a chainsaw and clear out all these trees and put the trail back to where it should be, have at it. Yeah, but I've started, I did find a very nice piece of trail through here, so I'm kind of hoping I'm connecting the dots correctly. I walked a good distance down through here, and this is what I found. So I have put some tape up. Like I say, if the Leave No Trace people want to complain about it, please bring your chainsaw and clear out a trail. Now, I've cleared out quite a few through here. So I have put some tape on here. There are a lot of trees in here that are not overly comfortable walking underneath. So I have picked the easiest route through here, avoiding all of the big stuff. I just cut out a bunch of these little ones just to make it obvious as people walk through. You know, you still got to do some tree hopping. Still some big trees in here. But well, this is part of the fun of coming out in places like this. You know, if it's all 6-lane highway, it's very easy to follow. But this is where it seems to go. So I cleared this one off of here. Leave some obvious markers for people. There you go. Right, now down through these trees, I did find a very obvious trail. So I'm hoping this is the correct trail. If not, I've just spent half an hour clearing stuff off of something that doesn't need clearing. See, this is very definitely an old trail through here, and straight through that big one over there, and then we're heading out into the meadows again. So there's two really big ones here that I can't clear. I'm going to cut some of these ends off of these ones so that people have a good idea that this is where you got to go. Right, and then I continue on my way. Got me to here. There's two very large ones there. Another piece of tape over there. There's two very large ones there. This is very obviously the trail. I ain't clearing those two out of there. They're too big and too dangerous. However, there's about 4 or 5 in front of me here at the moment. I should be able to clear those out without too much trouble. I think I'll take my pack off for that though. Right. Oh dear. Right, let's get this gear off and we get these cleared out. Right. See if we can make a dent in this one. Do this one. I don't know whether to cut a chunk out. That means I have to cut it twice. Or whether I can cut this one. There's still a fair bit of tree goes up in there. Yeah. I'm going to have to clear that one up to there, cut it there, and just swing that piece around, I guess. Get these small branches out of the way. Why I like this saw. If anybody's never used one of these ones, buy one. Because for jobs like this, they are something else. Right, so roll. Be careful because they'll roll, pinch your blade, and you can snap it. Oh, pretty much through there. Oh, that one's getting in my way. There. Yeah. out. Gotta be careful because once you cut them, these logs are pretty heavy. There we have it. Another bit done. On to the next piece. Slow but sure. Right, time for a drink of water. Whew. Yeah, that log was heavy. These things, that's why you have to be careful. If you're up here cutting on your own, always got to bear in mind where the tree's going to go, because it's not an overly huge tree, but I can tell you now, there's no way I could pick up and carry that log. So I'll keep cutting my way through here. This is obviously the trail. There ain't nothing I can do with these two. These two are huge. They're gonna have to wait. Wait for somebody with a chainsaw. However, one tree at a time. This is my goal for today. I'm taking a week off work. A lot of people they want to head down the beach on their days off and sit in the sunshine and all that. That's great. Different people like different things. To me, this is actually, although I'm puffed out and knackered now, this is actually a very relaxing thing to do. I actually enjoy doing this, so I will continue on my way that way and see what I can find. Apparently there is a whole mess of stuff down in here, so that's marked there, that's marked there. I don't need to mark anything along here because that's very obviously a trail. Right, let's have a drink of water, get all this lot back on. I can get on my way. Have to go far to find the next one. Tell you what I also found. Really nice bracket fungus. Look at that. This is what sustains forests, this stuff. It grows on trees, all the fungi and everything in the soil. Break it all down, turn it into new forest. So I will clear that one out of there. That shouldn't be too bad. So you've got to be careful because this aspen stuff, it's very deceptive. It really is. You look at it and you think it's not going to be heavy. But let me tell you, some of those logs that I've cut off these kind of trees, they're some of the heaviest I've ever cut. So I will cut that one out of there and get on the way. Done and dusted. On to the next one. There's about 6 or 7 trees in that little small section. Yeah. The rest of this looks pretty good though. I don't tape trees like this or trails like this because if you can't follow this, you shouldn't be up here. I'm hoping that I can enjoy the walk for a little bit. That was quite the mess there on top of the hill. So, gonna wrap it a little bit down through here. Wake, wake, rise and shine! Just make a little bit of noise. And, this is prime wildlife area. Lots of cows down on the road, so that's good. What you need is about 1,000 cows to walk up through here. Let me tell you, they'll clear out a trail so fast it's not funny. They're really good at making trail. Yeah. Well, I have to admit, this is really quite something. Now these branches like this, see, somebody's cut those branches off to clear them off the trail, but they're head height. So if somebody was coming up here on a bike or whatever, I don't like to see those. So although that's not obstructing the trail, I'm just going to trim those off closer to the trunk. So I've clipped this into my strap here. I'm going to try something different. I do have a shoulder mount in that I use. Oh, hello. I see a piece of tape in a tree. It wasn't me. So I'm kind of hoping this is going in the right direction. It seems to be, because the road's off on that side. Yes, somebody marked that one. This has been cut a long time ago, so looks like we're back into the mess again. Right, now, here we go. Pick a trail, people. This is why coming through an area like this, it's a good idea to have some kind of navigational skills. So I think this is going to be another case of what I had to do last time, was walk through here a little bit, find out where the trail was, and then work my way back towards where I am now, because that was very clearly the trail, but I can't see where it went once it went in here. Right, let me have a look around, see what I can find. Trail very obviously goes that way. I ain't clearing that lot out of there. So a slight detour around the side here. Has to be a better way. Just cut that small one out of there, just makes it a bit easier. Yeah, I really don't fancy trying to clear any of this lot. The size of this one. I cleared all the branches off it. Whoa. That must be 16, 18 inches through. Right, so I've got another bit of tape up in here. Just when I put my pack down in places like this, I always tie a piece of tape up a tree where I put my pack, like that. It's not always easy to come back to where you want, especially if I wander off a distance. There's a whole bunch in an area, so I'm trying to keep it as much on trail as possible. This one here, let's have a look the other side. Yes, trail obviously went through there, so let me just get this little one out of here. This shouldn't take too long. You get that out of there, and well, that was an easy couple. Didn't even have to take my pack off for that one. Wish they were all like that. Let me tell you, get some of these branches off here. This one was rot. This was almost like cutting a piece of paper, that one. Right. Fortunately, there is quite a lot of cut ends where people have cleared trails in the past, so that always makes it a little bit easier. Now, what do we have here? The trail, I think, disappears under that lot. Well, the trail in that forest up there just vanished to nothing. It's just an absolute spaghetti mess of garbage. So the top of the hill where I was earlier is up in there. So what I've done is basically I'm just going to bushwhack down through this lot. Beautiful, isn't it? Look at it. Yeah, absolutely stunning. Completely lost the trail. The trail splits in about 30 different directions up there, so I'm not sure which is the official trail and which isn't. So what I might have to do at some stage is start at the bottom of the other end of the trail and work my way up and see if I can join the two pieces together. But I can tell you now, that is quite the mess up in there. So I'm going to head down this valley, and I know I should bump into the road somewhere down in there, I guess. Yeah, the road's at the bottom of the hill, I know that much. So as long as I keep going down, I should be good. But look at this, because when I came up, I'm willing to bet you that I'm parked straight down through that way. My sense of direction tells me I'm down there, so I'm going to head straight line straight down through there and see if I bump into my car. Well, in true Dave fashion, it's turned into a Dave trail. I've just come down the back of that slight lovely meadow up there, really nice. Now I find myself in a very steep bit of aspen, but fortunately there's loads and loads of these little trees. There's a gully down the bottom. I'm reluctant to go down in there, so I'm going to skirt along the side. That looks really steep in there, and I suspect that's probably full of tumble down trees and an absolute mess. So this looks like this is going to be easier to traverse across this hill. Right, well, as long as I keep going that way, I know I'm going to bump into a road somewhere. So just a question of how much of this I have to go through. Right, let me continue on my way and see what I can find. I knew I'd come across some kind of animal trail, so I found a crisscross animal trail here, and generally speaking they know where they're going, even though I don't. People often say to me, "You never worry about getting lost?" I say, "Nope, not really. I don't always know where I am, but I'm never lost." I came that way, so, and I'm going this way, because if you look, this is very obviously a animal trail of some description. It goes somewhere, and since it's going the direction I want to go, it's a lot easier to walk through here than it is the bushwhack down the side of there. That's really hard on the toes. Yeah, it gives your toes a good workout, I tell you. It's not always a good thing. Now, I want to head down. Always a good idea when you stop, especially if you come across an area like this. Always stop and have a look, make a bit of noise, because quite often you find water in the bottom of it, and when you find water you quite often find wildlife. If you find a tree, ooh, get out of there. Just spotted a tree that's in the process of falling down. Split right through, look at that one. Yeah, not much holding that up. Right. But also the other problem with coming down through an area like this, you need to look at what plants are grown in here. If you see plants with very large leaves, chances are it's wet. So, don't want to be walking through water. Yep. Over those two. There we go. Still heading downhill, so I'm still doing good. As long as I keep going downwards, I know I'm going in the right direction. Ah, what do I spy through that gap there? I see a clearing where there shouldn't be a clearing. Forests don't have clearings like that. So, that's a man-made clearing. So down through those trees over there, there is a man-made clearing. Ooh, I see something red through there too. Ain't much in nature that's red, I can tell you. Yeah. Not that kind of red. There's an absolute abundance of butterflies. They're everywhere. Thousands of them. It's great to see. Now I happen to know that up in this area there's oil and gas installations, because I'm parked at one. And I'm willing to bet you that I've just found one. Now the question is it the one? Oh yeah, definitely oil and gas. However, is it the one I'm parked at? Because there's a whole bunch of these all the way up through here. Loads of them. Now then, let's see what we got. This whole area. Oh yeah, here we go. Now, there were two very noticeable installations along the side of the road where I came up through. Now, the question is, oh, there's a gate over that side, so the fence would be shorter that way. I'm willing to bet you that this is the one I'm parked at. Well, let's find out, shall I? I'm going to head down this way because this will be the shortest route around the fence. These guys get really upset if you go wandering through their site, and they do have cameras and monitoring equipment and what have you all over the show, so they probably know I'm here already. Ah, power line. Yeah, where I parked there was a noticeable power line came up. It's a little wet in the bottom here. Let's tippy-toe through the swamp. There we go. Right, well I know that I'm way off trail because this is I'm almost certain this is where I parked. I know I'm way off trail from where I was looking for clearing because it would have come down through the back of the forest about 1 kilometre that way. So somewhere in that great big higgledy-piggledy mess up in the top there somewhere, there's about 20 or 30 trails just braid off in every direction you can imagine. So that's where I should have been, other side of those trees over there, but I'm not. So I'm willing to betcha this is the one I'm parked at. There's 2 or 3 of these up here on this side of the road. So let me get out of here. As soon as I'm around this corner, I will know for certain. Either way, I'm within 1 kilometre of where I parked. If not 100 metres, if I'm right. Oh yeah, I'm right. This is where I parked. See, I told you if I head downhill through the forest in that direction, I'd bump into exactly where I parked. And then here I am. Yeah, perfect. Yes. Where I went up the trail this morning was just down in those trees there. Right, that'll do for now. I need to put this away and have a drink of water when I get back to the car. Nice.